The space station called Harmony's Rest floated in the darkness like a massive metal flower. Its lights twinkled against the black sky, and inside its walls, history was being made. Earth's diplomats had arrived for the biggest meeting humanity had ever attended. G-UN stood in the main hall, her hands clasped behind her back. She wore a simple blue suit that represented Earth. Around her, aliens of every shape and size moved through the crowd. Some had scales that shimmered like oil on water. Others had too many eyes or arms. A few floated without legs at all. Ji-yoon had studied them all, learned their names and customs, but seeing them in person still made her heart race. Her son Taemin held her hand tightly. The 8-year-old boy stared at everything with wide eyes. He had begged to come, promising to be good and quiet. Ji-yoon had agreed, thinking the station was safe. After all, this was a peace summit. What could go wrong? "Mom, that one has 4 mouths," Taemin whispered, pointing at a tall alien with purple skin. "Don't point, honey. It's rude here too," Ji-yoon said softly, but she smiled. Her son's wonder reminded her why they were here. To build a future where human children could grow up among the stars, safe and welcome. Behind them, Dae-young watched everything. He was a big man with short black hair going gray at the temples. His face showed no emotion, but his eyes never stopped moving. They tracked every alien who came too close, every exit, every shadow. He wore a simple black uniform with no weapons visible, but Ji-yoon knew he had at least 5 hidden on his body. She had argued against bringing him. "We're here to make peace, not prepare for war," she had told her superiors. They had ignored her. "Dae-young goes, or you don't," they had said. "He's kept presidents alive. He'll keep you alive too." Now, watching an alien delegation glare at them with open hatred, Ji-yoon was glad they had insisted that the Krethian delegates were impossible to miss. They stood 7 feet tall with scales like armor covering their bodies. Their leader, Vertesh, had eyes like a snake and a voice that hissed when he spoke. He had protested Earth's invitation to the summit loudly and often. "Humans are violent," he had declared to the council. "They destroy their own planet and each other. They have no place among civilized species." Other species had agreed. The Galactic Council had existed for thousands of years. Humanity had only known about aliens for 5 years. To most of the galaxy, humans were babies playing with weapons they didn't understand. Dae-young moved closer to Ji-yoon. "We should go," he said quietly. His voice was rough, like gravel. "The reception just started," Ji-yoon replied. "We need to stay and make connections. Something's wrong. I can feel it." Ji-yoon looked at him. Ding had been a soldier for 20 years before becoming a contractor. He had fought in wars on 3 continents and survived situations that killed better men. People called him Honey Badger because he never quit, never retreated, and never showed fear. If he felt something was wrong, it probably was, but leaving early would insult their hosts. It would make humanity look weak or afraid. "1 more hour," she said. "Then we can leave." Dae-young's jaw tightened, but he nodded. He positioned himself so he could see both Ji-yoon and Taemin at all times. The reception continued. Ji-yoon spoke with a friendly insectoid ambassador named Quillix, who asked intelligent questions about Earth's culture. Taemin got bored and asked if he could explore the garden area visible through the glass walls. "Stay where I can see you," Ji-yoon said. "And don't touch anything." "I promise." Taemin ran toward the garden, happy to escape the boring adult conversation. Dae-young started to follow, but Ji-yoon stopped him. "Let him have some freedom. He's been cooped up on the ship for days. We can see him from here." Dae-young didn't like it, but he stayed. His eyes tracked the boy through the glass as Taemin explored the alien plants with careful fingers. The garden was beautiful. Strange flowers grew in colors that didn't exist on Earth. Trees with silver leaves hummed with soft music. Taemin walked slowly, remembering his promise not to touch. He just looked, drinking in all the strange beauty. Then he heard voices. They came from behind a large bush with red spiral leaves. Taemin knew he shouldn't listen to private conversations, but something in the tone made him stop. The voices sounded angry and secret. He crept closer, staying hidden behind the plants. "Tomorrow during the treaty signing," a hissing voice said. "Vertesh, the human delegation will be eliminated. All of them?" Another voice, deeper and rougher. "It must look natural. An accident. That way the council cannot blame us directly." Taemin's heart began to pound. They were talking about killing his mom. About killing him. "The child dies first," Vertesh continued. "Humans are weak. They break when they're young or harmed. Kill the boy, and the mother will be too destroyed to function. The others will follow easily. When?" The other voice asked. "Tonight, during the sleep cycle. The boys' quarters are isolated. No cameras, minimal security. We make it look like an airlock malfunction. Tragic, but these things happen on space stations." Taemin's breath caught in his throat. He needed to run, to warn his mother, to get help. But his legs wouldn't move. Fear had frozen him in place. "Someone's there," the rough voice said suddenly. Tae-Min ran. He crashed through the plants, not caring about the noise anymore. Behind him, he heard shouts and the heavy sound of running feet. The aliens were chasing him. He burst out of the garden back into the main hall. His mother was far away, talking to a group of diplomats. Dae-Young's head snapped toward him immediately, his expression changing from calm to alert in an instant. "Mom!" Taemin screamed. Two large figures emerged from the garden behind him. Krethian guards, their scales gleaming under the lights. They moved fast for creatures so big. Dae-Young was faster. He crossed the distance in seconds, putting himself between Taemin and the guards. One hand went to the boy's shoulder, protective and firm. "Problem?" Dae-Young asked. His voice was quiet, but something in it made the guards stop. Ji-Yoon rushed over with several other diplomats. "What's happening?" "They're going to kill us." Taemin gasped. "I heard them talking. Vertesh said to kill me tonight and make it look like an accident." The hall went silent. Every conversation stopped. Every alien turned to stare. Vertesh appeared from the crowd, his face showing perfect confusion. The human child is mistaken. Perhaps he overheard a conversation about fiction or games. Many species discuss violence in entertainment. He understood exactly what he heard, Dae-Young said. His hand never left Taemin's shoulder. "A child's imagination," Vertesh said smoothly. "Or perhaps a translation error. Such things happen with primitive languages." Ji-Young knew what was happening. Vertesh was lying, using the situation to make humans look paranoid and foolish. If she pushed too hard without proof, the council would dismiss Earth's concerns. But if Taemin was right, her son would die tonight. Dae-Young looked at her. Their eyes met, and she saw the question in his gaze. She gave the smallest nod. "We're leaving," Dae-Young said. Now, he picked up Taemin easily, holding the boy against his chest. Ji-Yoon fell in beside them as they walked toward the exit. The crowd parted, aliens whispering and staring. Vertesh called after him, "Running away?" How very human. Dae-Young paused at the door. He turned and looked back at the Krethian leader. When he spoke, his voice carried across the entire hall. "If anything happens to this child, I will personally show you what humans do when someone threatens our young. I promise you, Snake, that you will learn to fear us." Then they were gone, moving quickly through the station's corridors. Behind them, Vertesh smiled. Let the humans run. It changed nothing. Tonight, they would learn their place in the galaxy. Tonight, the message would be sent in blood. He touched a small device on his wrist, sending a signal. In the shadows of the station, mercenaries and assassins received their orders. The hunt had begun. The quarters assigned to Earth's delegation were small but comfortable. De-Jong checked every corner, every vent, every possible entry point. He found 3 hidden cameras and 2 listening devices. He left them alone. Better to know where they were than to let the enemy install new ones he couldn't find. Ji-yoon sat on the bed with Tae-min, holding him close. The boy was trying to be brave, but his hands shook slightly. He had seen something terrible, heard words that promised death, and now the reality was sinking in. "We should call for help," Ji-yoon said. "Contact Earth. Get our ship ready to leave." "They'll try before that," Dae-young replied. He was looking at a small tablet, studying the station's layout. If Vertesh wants to send a message, he needs to act while the summit is still happening. Tomorrow will be too late. So what do? We prepare. And we wait. A knock at the door made everyone tense. De-Young's hand went to his hidden gun. He moved to the door and checked the screen. A human woman stood outside, alone. He opened the door slightly. "Can I help you?" "Myre, Earth Intelligence," the woman said quietly. She showed him a badge that looked official. "I need to come in. We don't have much time." Dae-young let her in, but kept himself between her and Ji-yoon and Tae-min. Trust was earned, not given. Myre was young, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and quick movements. She looked around the room and spotted the hidden devices immediately. She pulled out a small box and pressed a button. A low hum filled the air. "White noise generator," she explained. "They can't hear us now?" "Ambassador, your son was right. We've intercepted communications." Vartesh hired a mercenary team. They planned to grab Tae-min, make it look like a kidnapping gone wrong, then space him. Ji-yoon's face went pale. "Space him?" "Throw him out an airlock. Make it look like an accident during a struggle. The political fallout would be enormous. Earth would look careless. Other species would use it as proof humans can't protect their own. The council might even expel us." "Why?" Ji-yoon asked. "Why target a child?" "Because humans care about their children more than anything else," Myre said. "Vertesh studied our psychology. He knows that killing Tae-min will break you emotionally and give him the response he wants. If Earth retaliates in anger, we look like the violent primitives he claims we are. If we do nothing, we look weak. Either way, he wins." Dae-young was still studying his tablet. "When?" "Soon, within the next few hours. We've tracked at least 8 hostiles moving into position. Professional killers, all of them." "So we run," Ji-yoon said. "Get to our ship and leave." "They control the docking bay approaches," Myre said. "Our pilot Hyun-woo is pinned down. They'll hit us when we try to leave. Then we stay here. Lock the doors. Wait for Earth to send help." Myre shook her head. "Help is 3 days away, and they don't need to come through the door." She pointed at the vents. "They can gas us, cut the air, blow the hull. Staying here makes us targets." Ji-yoon looked at her son. Tae-min was trying to understand the adult conversation, his young face serious and scared. "What do we do?" she whispered. Dae-young looked up from his tablet. "We split up. Murray takes the ambassador to a secure location. I take the boy." "No." Ji-yoon stood up. "I'm not leaving my son." "They want you emotional," Dae-young said calmly. "They want you watching while they hurt him. That's how they break you. But if you're somewhere safe, I can focus on keeping Tae-min alive without worrying about protecting both of you. He's my son, and I'm very good at keeping people alive." Dae-young's eyes met hers. "Trust me." Ji-yoon wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. She was a diplomat, not a fighter. If she stayed with Tae-min, she would only slow Dae-young down. She knelt in front of her son. Taemin, you need to go with Mr. Dae-young. He'll keep you safe. Where are you going? Taemin asked, tears forming. Somewhere safe. And when this is over, we'll be together again. I promise. She hugged him tightly, breathing in his scent, memorizing the feel of his small body against hers. Then she let go and stood up quickly before she could change her mind. Dae-young picked up Taemin. Stay quiet. Stay close. Do exactly what I say. Can you do that? Taemin nodded, his face serious. Murray checked her watch. We move in 2 minutes. There's a gap in their surveillance rotation. Those 2 minutes felt like hours. Then Mireille opened the door and they moved into the corridor. It was empty and quiet. Too quiet. They split at the first junction. Mireille and Ji-yoon went left toward the diplomatic section. Dae-young and Taemin went right, deeper into the station's maintenance areas. They made it 3 corridors before the trap sprang. Alarms shrieked. Red lights flashed. Emergency bulkheads slammed down, cutting off their escape route. Dae-young spun, putting Taemin behind him as figures emerged from the shadows. 4 Krethian guards, armored and armed. They moved fast, confident. They thought they had caught easy prey. They were wrong. Dae-young moved like water, smooth and unstoppable. The first guard swung a stun baton. Dae-young caught his wrist, twisted, and the alien's own weapon cracked against his skull. The second guard tried to grab Taemin. Dae-young's elbow smashed into his throat, collapsing his windpipe. The third and fourth guards pulled weapons. Dae-young was faster. He grabbed the falling second guard and used him as a shield. Stun blasts hit the guard instead of their targets. Dae-young threw the body of the third guard, knocking him down, then closed the distance to the fourth dot. It was over in seconds. 4 trained soldiers lay unconscious or dead on the floor. Dae-young wasn't even breathing hard. He took one of their weapons and checked Taemin. You okay? The boy nodded, eyes wide with shock. They ran. Behind them, more alarms wailed. The enemy knew where they were now. The hunt was on. Dae-young's tablet showed a route to the cargo bay. It was risky, but from there, they could access emergency escape pods. He ran, carrying Taemin, his old soldier's instincts guiding him through the maze of corridors. They burst into the cargo bay and stopped. The massive room was full of containers and equipment. And waiting for them were more guards. Many more. Dae-young counted quickly. 8 hostiles, all armed, forming a semicircle around a holding pod near the airlock. They had known he would come here. This was the real trap. A hologram flickered to life. Vitesh appeared, his image huge and smiling. The human and his pet child, the Krethian leader said. You fight well, I admit, but it changes nothing. Surrender the boy, and you may live. No, Dae-young said simply. Then you both die. My mercenaries are the best in the galaxy. Former soldiers, hunters, killers. And you are one aging human with a child to protect. The math is simple. Dae-young set Taemin down gently. He looked at the boy and smiled, a rare expression on his scarred face. Cover your ears, kid. This might get loud. Then he looked up at Vitesh's hologram. His smile disappeared, replaced by something cold and terrible. You want to send a message? Dae-young asked. Fine, let me send one back. You targeted a human child. That was your first mistake. Your second was thinking I would let you succeed. He stepped forward, weapon ready. I'm Dae-young. They call me Honey Badger. And honey badgers don't quit. We don't retreat. We don't surrender. He looked at the 8 mercenaries waiting to kill them. Come on then, he said quietly. Try me first. The cargo bay exploded into violence. The first mercenary fired. Dae-young was already moving. The plasma bolt scorched the air where he had been standing a second before. He rolled behind a cargo container, pulling Taemin with him. "Stay down and don't move," he told the boy. Then he was up and running again. The mercenaries were professionals. They spread out, covering angles, coordinating their fire. But they were used to hunting targets that ran away or hid. Dae-young did neither. He ran straight at them. The move surprised them. Just for a second, they hesitated. That second was enough. Dae-young closed the distance to the nearest mercenary, a tall alien with 4 arms. The alien raised 2 weapons. Dae-young slid under his shots and came up swinging. His stolen weapon smashed into the alien's knee joint. The mercenary screamed and fell. Dae-young took both guns and kept moving. 2 more mercenaries converged on him. He fired both weapons, not aiming for kill shots, but for confusion. Plasma bolts scattered around them, forcing them to take cover. While they were hidden, Dae-young circled around and came at them from the side. They died before they could react. 5 left. But Dae-young was bleeding now. A plasma shot had grazed his shoulder. Another had burned his leg. The pain was intense, but he pushed it away. Pain was information. He noted it and kept fighting. The remaining mercenaries changed tactics. They stopped trying to shoot him and started using the environment. One triggered a gravity shift. Suddenly, everything in the cargo bay was floating. Dae-young adapted instantly, using containers as launching points, turning the zero gravity into an advantage. He caught a floating tool and threw it like a missile. It hit a mercenary in the faceplate, cracking it. The alien gasped for air in the thin atmosphere. Another enemy downed. 4 left. How is he doing this? One of the mercenaries shouted. He's just one human. But that was the problem with understanding humans. Most aliens saw them as weak, soft, slow. They didn't understand what evolution on Earth meant. They didn't know about persistence hunting, about humans who could run prey to exhaustion over days. They didn't know about pain tolerance that let humans function with injuries that would kill others. They didn't know about humanity's greatest weapon, the refusal to give up. Dae-young's body was screaming at him to stop, to rest, to tend his wounds. He ignored it. Taemin was behind him, counting on him, trusting him. Nothing else mattered. A mercenary with 6 legs rushed him like a spider. Dae-young grabbed a pipe from the floating debris and swung it like a bat. The impact shattered the alien's exoskeleton. 3 left, but the leader of the mercenaries, a massive creature called Zixthar, was still fresh. He had watched his team fall one by one, studying Dae-young's fighting style, learning his patterns. Now he moved in for the kill. Zixthar was huge, nearly 8 feet tall, covered in natural armor. He carried a weapon that crackled with energy. "You fight well for prey," he said. His voice was deep and amused. "But you're bleeding, human, weakening. Soon you'll fall." "Maybe," Dae-young said. "But I'll take you with me." They clashed in the center of the cargo bay. Zixthar was stronger, his strikes powerful enough to dent metal. But Dae-young was faster, more flexible. He dodged and weaved, landing hits where the armor was weakest. The other 2 mercenaries tried to help their leader. Dae-young spun and threw Zixthar at them. All 3 went down in a tangle. Dae-young grabbed another weapon from a fallen enemy and fired. 1 mercenary stopped moving. 2 left plus Zixthar. Gravity suddenly returned. Everything crashed back to the floor. Dae-young landed badly, his injured leg buckling. Zixthar saw his chance and charged. The massive alien tackled Dae-young into a wall. The impact drove the air from his lungs. Zixthar's hands closed around his throat, squeezing. "Die, little human. Die knowing you failed." Dae-young's vision started to go dark. He could hear Taemin crying out from behind the container. The boy was calling his name, terrified. Something inside Dae-young refused to accept this. He thought about his own childhood, about the father who had abandoned him. He thought about every person he had ever protected, every mission where he had refused to fail. He thought about Taemin, 8 years old and scared, trusting a scarred soldier to keep him safe, with strength he didn't know he had. Dae-young brought both hands up and drove his thumbs into Zixthar's eye stalks. The alien screamed and released his grip. Dae-young sucked in air and hit him again and again and again. Zixtar fell backward. Dae-young stood up, swaying, bleeding from a dozen wounds. The last 2 mercenaries looked at him and made a choice. They ran. Dae-young let them go. He limped to where Taemin was hiding. The boy threw himself into his arms, sobbing. "It's okay," Dae-young said, his voice rough. "You're safe now." But they weren't. The cargo bay doors opened and more guards poured in. Fresh troops, armed and ready. Dae-young picked up Taemin and backed toward the escape pod. His body was at its limit. He had maybe one more fight in him before he collapsed. Then something unexpected happened. The guards stopped. They stood at attention as someone else entered the bay. It was Ambassador Quillix, the insectoid diplomat Ji-yoon had been talking to earlier. Behind him came a dozen more aliens wearing council security uniforms. "Stand down," Quillix commanded the guards. "By order of the Galactic Council, this assassination attempt is over." The guards hesitated. They had been hired by Vortesh, not the council. Mirai entered next, with Ji-yoon and a squad of Earth Marines. The pilot Hyan Woo was with them, along with someone in an Earth military uniform. Commander Seung-ho, if Dae-young remembered correctly. "Mom!" Taemin cried out. Ji-yoon ran to them, gathering her son into her arms. She looked at Dae-young, at his wounds, at the bodies scattered around the cargo bay. Tears streamed down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." Dae-young nodded. Then his legs finally gave out and he fell. Strong hands caught him. The Earth Marines were there, helping him, calling for medical assistance. As they carried him out, Dae-young heard Ambassador Quillix speaking to the guards. "What I witnessed today will be reported to the full council. One human, protecting one child, defeated 8 trained killers. This is not weakness. This is the most dangerous kind of strength." Outside the cargo bay, screens all over the station showed what had happened. Mirai had made sure the fight was broadcast. Every species in the Galactic Council had watched. They had seen a wounded human refuse to surrender, refuse to quit, refuse to let a child die. They had seen what humans were truly capable of. In his private quarters. Vortesh watched the screens with growing horror. His plan had failed. Worse, he had revealed his conspiracy on camera. The council would demand answers. His position, his power, everything was crumbling. But more than that, he had learned something that terrified him. He had thought humans were weak prey. He had thought their love for their children was a weakness to exploit. He understood now. That love wasn't weakness. It was what made them unstoppable. Humanity had sent its message. They had shown the galaxy what happened when someone threatened their young. And the galaxy had finally understood. Humans were not prey. They were predators who simply chose to be peaceful. And when forced to fight, they fought with a ferocity that made other species look tame. In Medical Bay, Soo-jin worked on Dae-young's wounds. The doctor was amazed he was still alive. 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, burns covering 20% of his body, and he had kept fighting. How? She asked him. How did you not stop? Dae-young looked to where Taemin sat with his mother, safe and whole. Because stopping wasn't an option, he said simply. That was the human way. When something mattered enough, they simply didn't stop. The Galactic Council chamber was unlike anything most humans had ever seen. It was a massive spherical room where delegates from hundreds of species floated in gravity fields. each positioned according to their world's importance and history. At the center, a holographic display showed evidence from the cargo bay incident. Ji-Yun stood in the human delegation area, watching the footage play again. She had seen it a dozen times now, but each viewing still made her heart race. The video showed Dae-Young fighting, bleeding, refusing to fall. It showed him protecting Taemin with everything he had. The chamber was silent except for the sounds of combat from the recording. No one spoke. No one moved. They simply watched. When the video ended, Elder Qurim spoke. He was ancient, his species having been part of the council since its founding. His voice was weak but clear. "We have seen the evidence," he said. "The assassination attempt was real. The conspiracy to eliminate Earth's delegation was real. And the response was..." He paused, searching for words. "Unprecedented?" Dr. Tesh stood in a detention field, his scales dull with shame. His co-conspirators stood with him, their various faces showing fear or anger or resignation. The evidence against them was complete. Murray had made sure of that. "The accused will be sentenced according to council law," Elder Quirm continued. "But that is not why we are gathered. We are here to discuss what this incident reveals about humanity." A murmur went through the chamber. Some species still viewed humans as dangerous. Others had shifted their opinion after watching the cargo bay footage. Ambassador Quillick stood. His insectoid features made it hard for humans to read his expressions, but his voice was clear. "I wish to speak in favor of humanity." This caused more murmurs. Quillick's species, the Hive Collective, were known for their careful consideration and strict adherence to law. Their opinions carried weight. "I studied human history before this summit," Quillick said. "I read about their wars, their violence, their tendency to destroy. I came here believing the warnings about them were correct. I was wrong." He gestured to the screens showing Dae-Young's fight. "What I witnessed was not mindless violence. It was controlled, purposeful, and entirely defensive. The human called Dae-Young had many chances to kill. He chose mercy when possible. He chose violence only when necessary. And most importantly, he chose to sacrifice himself for a child." Ba'ora, a human xenobiologist, stepped forward. She had been asked to brief the council on human psychology. "May I speak?" Elder Kim gestured permission. "Many of you call humans violent," Ba'ora said. "You're not wrong. We evolved on a death world where everything wanted to kill us. We learned to fight because we had to. But you missed the most important part of our evolution. We also learned to protect." She activated her own holographic display. It showed human parents with children, human soldiers helping wounded civilians, human doctors working in disaster zones. "Humans bond," Ba'ora continued. "We bond with our families, our tribes, our species. And when those bonds are threatened, we respond with everything we have. This isn't unique to humans. Many species protect their young, but humans take it further. We will protect a NY child, human or not. We will fight impossible odds. We will die rather than fail." She pointed to the image of Dae-Young. This man wasn't Taemin's father. He was a hired guard. But he protected that boy like he was his own. Because to humans, all children deserve protection. That's our nature. A delegate from a reptilian species spoke up. "But this makes them dangerous. If they will fight so fiercely for one child, imagine what they would do if their entire species was threatened." "Exactly," Ba'ora said. "Now you understand. Humans are not dangerous because we're violent. We're dangerous because we care. We form bonds, and those bonds give us strength. Attack a human, and you fight one person. Attack a human's child, and you fight the entire species." The chamber fell silent again. The implications were sinking in. Jinho, Earth's military attaché, stood next. "For 5 years, you've tested us. You've given us the worst trade deals, the hardest diplomatic challenges, the least respect. You wanted to see if we would break, if we would rage, if we would prove we were the savages you thought we were. His voice was calm but firm. We didn't. We took the insults. We accepted the unfair terms. We tried to prove we could be peaceful. But then you made one mistake. You threatened our child. He looked directly at Vertesh. You thought our love for children was weakness. You thought you could break us by hurting them. Instead, you showed the galaxy why humans survived on a death world. Why we climbed to the top of our food chain. Why we made it to the stars. Because we don't stop, Commander Sungho added, stepping forward. My ships are still outside this station. Not as an invasion force. As a promise. Hurt our people, especially our children, and we will show you what humanity is truly capable of. Elder Krem raised a hand for silence. Are you threatening the council? No, Ji-Yoon said, speaking for the first time. We're explaining. You wanted to know what we are. Now you know. We're the species that will negotiate peacefully for decades. We're the species that will accept unfair deals to avoid war. We're the species that will try every option before violence. She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as possible. But we're also the species that will burn down galaxies if you touch our children. That's not a threat. That's just who we are. The chamber erupted in voices. Some species demanded humanity be expelled. Others called for increased cooperation. The council was divided. Then something unexpected happened. Representative Thelva stood. His species had been among the most hostile to humanity. They had supported Votesh's views completely. I wish to apologize, Thelva said. The chamber went silent. To Ambassador Ji-Yoon, to the child Tae-min, and to the warrior Dae-Young. We judged you by our standards. We thought your emotions made you weak. We were blind. He looked at the other delegates. My species are cold. We do not bond strongly with our young. We thought this made us superior, more rational. Watching that human fight, I realized the truth. Caring is not weakness. It's the most powerful force in existence. Because someone who has nothing to lose is dangerous. But someone who has something to protect is unstoppable. The silence that followed was profound. A species known for its coldness had just praised human emotion. The political implications were enormous. Elder Kerm spoke again. The council will vote on humanity's status. But before we do, I wish to say something. I have lived for 300 years. I have seen species rise and fall. I have seen wars and peace. And I have learned one truth. The species that survive are not the strongest or the smartest. They are the ones who will do anything to protect their future. He looked at Ji-Yoon. Humanity's future is your children, and you will fight like demons to protect them. I understand that now. We all should. The vote was called. When it finished, humanity's status in the council had changed. They were no longer probationary members. They were full partners, with all the rights and respect that came with it. Vortesh and his conspirators were sentenced to life imprisonment. The Krethian Dominion was sanctioned. New treaties were written that gave humans equal standing. But more important than any political outcome was the message that had been sent. Every species in the galaxy now knew humans could be peaceful. They could be patient. They could be diplomatic, but threaten their children. And they would show you why Earth was called a death world. In Medical Bay. Tae-min sat beside Dae-Young's bed. The soldier was healing slowly, his body covered in bandages and medical equipment. Are you a hero? Tae-min asked. Dae-Young smiled. No, kid. I'm just stubborn. Mr. Dae-Young? Yeah? Thank you for not giving up. Dae-Young looked at the boy. This small human who had trusted him completely. That's what honey badgers do, he said. We never give up. 1 week had passed since the cargo bay incident. The station had returned to its normal rhythm, but nothing was truly the same. The hallways that once saw aliens ignoring or dismissing humans now showed something different. Respect, sometimes fear, always careful attention. Tae-young sat in his medical room, pushing away the pain medication Soo-jin kept trying to give him. He hated how the drugs made his mind fuzzy. He needed to stay alert, even though the danger had passed. You're healing faster than I expected, Soo-jin said, checking his charts. She was a young doctor who had been terrified when she first saw his injuries. Now she looked at him with a mix of professional interest and personal awe. Your body shouldn't be able to function this well with the damage it sustained. Humans are stubborn, Tae-young replied. Our bodies included. Soo-jin shook her head. It's more than that. I've been studying human physiology since you arrived. Your species has redundancies built into every system. Your bodies can function with massive damage that would kill most species. And your pain tolerance? She trailed off, amazed. We evolved to hunt, Tae-young said simply. Sometimes the hunt meant getting hurt. We learned to keep going anyway. The door opened and Taemin rushed in, carrying a stack of drawings. Ji-young followed, smiling at her son's energy. The boy had recovered from the trauma remarkably well, though he still had nightmares sometimes. Mr. Tae-young, I made more pictures. Taemin spread his drawings on the bed. They showed spaceships and aliens, and in every single one, a figure fighting to protect the smaller figure. This one is you fighting the bad guys, Taemin explained, pointing to a drawing. And this is you saving me. And this is you being really, really brave. Tae-young looked at the drawings, something softening in his scarred face. You're a good artist, kid. When I grow up, I want to be brave like you, Taemin said seriously. You're already brave, Ji-young told him. You stayed calm when you were scared. You trusted me to keep you safe. That takes courage. Ji-young watched them together, this rough soldier and her gentle son. She had been wrong about Tae-young. She had thought his experience with violence made him dangerous. She understood now that his experience made him protective. He knew what violence looked like, what it cost, and he used that knowledge to shield others from it. How are the negotiations going? Tae-young asked her. Better than I ever hoped, Ji-young admitted. Species that wouldn't even look at me before are now requesting meetings. They want trade agreements, cultural exchanges, security partnerships. Everything has changed. Because they're afraid of us now, Tae-young said. It wasn't a question. Some are afraid, Ji-young agreed. But others are impressed. They respect strength, and we showed them ours. Not by attacking or threatening, but by protecting. There was a knock on the door. Yoonji entered, carrying recording equipment. She was a historian assigned to document Earth's first diplomatic mission. What she had ended up documenting was much more significant. Ambassador, Mr. Tae-young, I hope I'm not interrupting, Eunji said. I wanted to interview you both for the official record. The cargo bay incident is being called the Honey Badger event in Galactic News. People across hundreds of worlds are talking about it. What are they saying? Ji-young asked. Eunji smiled. It depends on the species. Some are analyzing the combat tactics. Military academies are studying the fight, trying to understand how one injured human defeated 8 trained killers. Others are focusing on the emotional aspect, the bond between protector and protected. She pulled up her tablet, showing various alien news sources. Headlines in strange languages all showed images of Tae-young fighting. There's a philosophical debate happening, Eunji continued. Many species have always believed that emotional attachment makes warriors weak, that the best fighters are cold and detached. But you proved something different. Your attachment to Taemin didn't make you weak. It made you unstoppable. I was just doing my job, Dae-young said uncomfortably. No, Yoonji replied gently. A job would have been protecting him until it became too dangerous, then retreating. You went far beyond that. You fought until your body was destroyed, and you would have kept fighting even then. That's not professionalism. That's something deeper. Before Dae-young could respond, another visitor arrived. Representative Felvis stood in the doorway, looking uncertain. His species didn't show emotion clearly, but his posture suggested nervousness. May I enter? He asked formally. Ji-yoon nodded. Of course. Felvis approached Dae-young's bed slowly. I wish to speak with you privately, but perhaps it's better this way. Others should hear. He looked at Dae-young directly. My species believes emotions are weakness. We raise our young communally with no strong attachments. We thought this made us superior. But watching you fight, watching you refuse to surrender even when death was certain, I realized something. We are not superior. We are incomplete. The alien's voice grew softer. We have no one we would die for. We have nothing that matters enough to fight impossible odds. We thought that made us strong. Instead, it makes us empty. You have something worth dying for. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you dangerous in a way we can never be. Dae-young didn't know what to say. This alien was apologizing for an entire worldview. I cannot change my species overnight, Felvis continued. But I can change myself. I will advocate for your people. I will tell others what I learned. Perhaps in time my species will understand what you showed us. That caring is not weakness. It is the most powerful force in the universe. He bowed, a gesture of deep respect in his culture, then left. The room was quiet after he departed. Then Taemin spoke up, his child's voice cutting through the heavy silence. Why did you call yourself Honey Badger? He asked Dae-young. Dae-young smiled, the expression transforming his scarred face into something almost gentle. You know what a honey badger is? A small animal from Earth, Taemin said. We learned about them in school. Honey badgers are fierce, Dae-young explained. They're not very big, but they fight animals 10 times their size. Lions, hyenas, even crocodiles. And they don't care how big the enemy is. If they have something to protect or they're threatened, they just fight. They don't know how to quit. Like humans, Taemin said, understanding. Yeah, Dae-young agreed. When it matters, when there's something worth protecting, humans are like honey badgers. We don't care about the odds. We don't care about the danger. We just fight. Ji-yoon added, but we also choose peace when we can Taemin. We don't want to fight. We want to build, explore, learn. Fighting is always the last option. But when someone threatens our children, Dae-young said, his voice hard, it becomes the only option. Taemin thought about this seriously. Then he smiled. So all humans are honey badgers? When we need to be, Dae-young said. When it matters most. Later that day, Ji-yoon stood at a viewport, watching ships arrive and depart from the station. So many species, so many different forms of life, all trying to coexist in one galaxy. Commander Sung-ho joined her. We're receiving requests for security contracts, he said. Dozens of species want human bodyguards now. Apparently, word has spread that we're very effective at protection. And how does Earth feel about that? Ji-yoon asked. Command is considering it. It could be good for diplomatic relations. Show that we're not just warriors, but protectors. He paused. Dae-young has received 700 job offers. Everyone wants the honey badger working for them. Ji-yoon smiled. What did he say? He told them all no. Said he's done with this life after this mission. Wants to retire, maybe teach. Good for him, Ji-yoon said softly. He deserves peace. They watched the stars together, thinking about what had changed. The galaxy had learned about humanity, not through war or conquest, but through one man protecting one child. Sometimes the smallest actions carried the biggest messages. Weeks later, as the diplomatic mission concluded and Earth's delegation prepared to leave, Taemin and Dae-young stood together at the viewport. They watched Earth growing larger as their ship approached home. "Will I see you again?" Taemin asked. "Maybe," Dae-young said. "I'm not good at staying retired. I meant what I said. I want to be like you when I grow up." Dae-young knelt down, looking at the boy seriously. "Then be kind first. Be smart. Be curious about the universe. Only be dangerous when you have to be. Can you do that?" Taemin nodded solemnly. "Good kid," Dae-young said, ruffling his hair as Earth filled the viewport. Beautiful and blue, Dae-young thought about what had happened. They had come to the stars hoping to find peace and understanding. Instead, they had been forced to show the galaxy who humans really were. Not conquerors, not destroyers, but protectors who would fight with everything they had when something precious was threatened. The galaxy called it the Honey Badger event. Humans called it something simpler. Doing what was right. And in the years that followed, whenever someone asked what humans were truly like, the answer was always the same story. The story of a soldier who refused to quit, a child who trusted completely, and a message sent across the stars. They had targeted the human child. The honey badger had stepped up and said, "Try me first." And the galaxy had finally understood what that meant. Humans were not prey. They were not victims. They were the species that had survived on a death world by protecting each other. And now, among